Whew, so much is coming through this morning. So grateful to be joining with each and every one of you. And as always, I want to open with an affirmation all together. So let's just all declare, I am willing to see in Christ's vision.
I am willing to see in Christ's vision.
And to recognize that truly there are no differences.
And to recognize that truly there are no differences.
And that we are one.
And that we are one.
Amen. Beautiful. What was coming through while I was sitting here getting, just Donna's song really just brought a whole new talk through me. I had one talk, that came through me when I was doing my makeup, and now there's a different one. So I was guided, and what was coming to me was a sharing of unity, just because that came up through what you shared too. And that unity has this vision of unity and the acceptance of everyone and everything. And there's a little story I want to share with you that I actually shared in my book, and that's why it was coming up to me, because right now I've been reading it, preparing for my book tour. And it talks about my journey into finding my calling of where I wanted to go to church on Sundays. And I grew up, and my mother was Catholic and my dad was Presbyterian. So there was this discussion back and forth when I was young of what would I would be. Would I be Presbyterian or would I be Catholic? And I wanted to be Catholic because it was the cool thing to do. Because at school, all my friends were going to catechism. See, sometimes my English is not too good. And to basically become Catholic, and it was like the in thing, and all my friends were going. And I said, I want to be the cool kid. How we all been there, and let me do this. So I went, and one thing I just want you to know is that when we're young, especially when we're young, we know that we know. We know that we know. We actually know everything. And there's some things that actually feel a little bit off, but we don't listen to it because we start to believe in the elders and believe what they say. But we know everything. It's fascinating to me. And I'm sure those of you that have children have been a witness to that. Right? She even laughs. Right? And I went, and I remember that it was a retreat. It was a retreat. It was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I remember them telling me that I needed to go to this priest to confess my sins. And I seriously thought it was so ridiculous. Like, I knew that. I knew that I wasn't sinful, and I knew that I hadn't committed any sins. And then I go to this school, this little class that they had, and they were talking about same-sex marriages and how that wasn't allowed. Because back in the day, it was even, it was different, Also, that you can't have sex before you get married and all these things. And I knew all these things weren't in alignment at this time. So I come home, and my parents say, oh, so what do you think? And then I said, well, I don't know, Mommy, Daddy, because this Catholic thing is very strange. They tell me that they want me to go talk to this stranger, this weird man, and tell him my sins. And Mommy and Daddy, I am not sinful. Right? Also, they say this thing that same-sex people can be together. I don't understand this because we're supposed to love everybody. I knew all of this, and we all know all of this, is that we're taught differently as we get older. And then they say that we can have sex before we get married. I don't know, Mom and Dad. I'm not having sex, but that's strange. So I'm not saying that Catholic is bad or good. Again, I'm not judging. I'm just saying a funny story of which was my experience of that in truth, oneness is where the healing is at. That's where the truth is at. Because in that oneness, in that we're all one, is where unity comes in. And that there's no differences. So I decided I wasn't going to be Catholic and I wasn't going to be Presbyterian. How about that? How about I'm going to be a child of God? That's what I told my parents. I'm going to be a child of God, and I was 12 at this time. And that's it. No Catholic school for me. No Presbyterian school for me. I did go to church, to Catholic church. There's one thing that I have to say about Catholic church, which I really loved, is the tradition. I love the beautiful cathedrals. I love the music. I love the rituals. There's just something very beautiful about that. And I enjoyed that. And then there was parts about the Presbyterian that I loved, how they have like a lot of roots in the saints. And there's a lot of saints, and I'm very connected to saints. So I loved that too. So I was able to, with my parents that were so beautiful, that allowed me to choose what I wanted to be, or what church I wanted to join. So forward to, I am about 20, and I'm living, I just bought my apartment, and I was living in Miami, and I bought this apartment on the water, and like about 3 blocks away is Unity of Miami, Unity on the Bay. And I heard about this church, and I walked in the church, and as I walk in, I'm home. I'm home. Why? I didn't see any crosses on the wall to remind me that Jesus was crucified. Because I don't need to be reminded of that. Right? Because it has a beautiful symbol. The Course would say the crucifixion of Jesus is just showing us that we're not a body, actually. So I walk in and I see people of all colors, all races. I see same-sex couples together holding hands. Men and women alike. I see heterosexual couples. I see all colors and all religions all in one place. And I am home. I am home. I had chosen my religion finally when I was in my 20s. And that's why when I was sitting here, I was just so grateful to be able to give a message within this institution of what this institution stands for. I am grateful. And there's just a big symbol in that within unity and what it teaches of accepting this diversity of culture, this diversity of religion, this diversity of what we choose to think or allow or be in our lives. There's this acceptance, and that is love. Why? Because that is God. Within that foundation of what unity teaches is God. But more importantly is just the reminder that the only differences that appear to be are in form. So where there appears to be diversity, there is diversity, is right now in this form, right? It appears that there's diversity, it appears that there's differences. That only exists in form. And what unity does is help us have acceptance of that. But in God, there isn't any diversity. In God, there isn't diversity. The Course says there's only love, and love is one. So there really isn't any differences in God because we're all one and connected. But what I love about the teachings of unity and the teachings of the Course is that it brings us back to God, because in accepting our diversity and accepting our differences, we get to remember God. We get to remember God within that. So this is actually a tool and helping us, and a symbol to use to remember that we've never left the mind of God, that we're always in the mind of God. Because within that diversity, there is differences. And differences, what? There's duality, there's separation, which is something just to be mindful of. The key is to recognize that in truth, there isn't any separation, that we're all one, and that we are all just reflecting each other. And what unity is teaching is to love your brother and sister. Course is teaching you love your brother and sister all the time, even if you don't want to. I say that. Even if you don't want to. Why? Because then you're going to be doing the happy dance. You're going to be happy. Because guess what? When I am loving Barbara to full capacity and seeing in her truth, which is the way I open the service with affirmation, I'm seeing her in truth, I'm seeing her in Christ's vision. Guess who I am seeing? Myself. This is how I get to wake up through Barbara. Thank you, Barbara, for helping me wake up. Thank you for your service to me. This is what we're here for. Love is one. We're here to awaken each other through seeing actually that there's no diversity. Wow. I was like, I'm going to give a talk on diversity. I'm going to say there isn't any. Wow. I was like, Susan, all this stuff is coming through me. It's Donna's fault with her song. Thank you, Donna. Right? Wow. Diversity is informed, and then actually we can use it as a tool. There's nothing wrong with it, there's nothing bad with it. It looks like there are differences. But our job is to actually accept the whole so that we can actually recognize there aren't any differences, really. So if there's like a rose garden, right? We have a rose garden, which is the garden of God, where there's all these roses and they're all different colors, right? There's pink, there's blue, there's yellow. Haven't you seen when you buy roses, sometimes they're all these different colors, and they're so beautiful, the different colors. And when you're looking at them, guess who gets to enjoy that view? Yourself. You get to acknowledge the love and the beautiful flower of which you get to enjoy within you. But how about if some religion, how about if some dictator comes and says, you know what? Roses are all supposed to be red. And let's cast out and burn all the color ones. This is what we do. This is what we do in this cuckoo world, in this circus world. This is what we do. We have our own judgments. This is why love is one. And one of the things we have to remember is to let go of the judgments. Every time we're judging, you are burning a colorful rose. Every time you have a judgment about your brother and sister, about anyone, you are saying that that rose is supposed to be red. And you're not accepting that. And guess what happens? You block off God. You block off God consciousness. You block off where you are and where you've never left the mind of God. Period. Then you don't get to be free, you don't get to be peaceful, and you don't get to be happy. How do I know? Because I've been there and I've done that. And it's not fun. No fun. Not nice. So I invite you to start to be accepting and loving, not only with people, but situations in your life. It could be politics, it could be religion, it could be your mother, your father, your children, all of that, and start to see it as a garden and start to see more as God sees. Be more God-like in your life. If it feels to be better Jesus-like, choose that. If it feels better to be Holy Spirit-like, choose that. Whatever angel you want to be, to choose that, so that the garden of God, which has multi-colors in form, because in truth there isn't any color in God anyways. There's no different color roses in God, because there's only one. There is actually no roses there, because there's nothingness, there's expansiveness, there's joy, there is no duality. There's no judgments. There's no fear. Everything is unlimited. Everything is glorious. Everything is purposeful. So when you come into this realm, your job as a teacher of God, because we're all teachers of God, every single second within the second, you are teaching. So I invite you to step into your teacherishness and see the truth in everyone and everything, because when you see it in everyone and everything, you're actually recognizing it for yourself. So I invite you to embrace that garden of different colors within your mind, because embracing that diversity, embracing that difference reminds you that you aren't different and there isn't any diversity. My relationship with Christian is not different than Benit's and Bob's. Just because I'm a woman, he's a man, and there are two men together, there is no difference. There is no difference. In form, it would appear to be different, but the same love that they have for each other, we share. The same love that we share, we all share. And we have to understand and start to have more Christ vision. And more Christ vision, and more Christ vision. What happens? You lift the veil of illusion, and you're free. So I invite you to color the world with love, and accept that color. And there's an affirmation that I use that is very helpful that states, we share the same love, which is a practice I would love for you to take on this week. And how about the rest of your existing life? We share the same love. So every day when you get up in the morning, if you're alone, you look at yourself in the mirror. If it appears you're alone, because you're never alone. Your spouse, your kids, just in your mind, we share the same love. You don't even need to say it. We share the same love. We share the same love. You get to work, in your mind, we share the same love. The clerk at the supermarket, we share the same love. Constantly, you're driving. Maybe you glimpse at somebody on your right that's probably on the phone. We share the same love. We're not separate. This is a beautiful practice. I do it all the time. So to conclude, I'm going to read this little part here that I have in my book, which is actually, I just opened my book and I got the title of the talk this morning, which is Love is One. So I'm just going to read you a little paragraph which says, you may think there are different types of love. A love for this and a love for that. A way of loving one person and a different way of loving another. You may think that you love your child more than your best friend or your husband more than the store clerk. But love is one. It has no degrees and can really be separated into different forms. A very helpful approach is to consider that you can love everyone. A very helpful approach is that you can consider to love everyone. And I know that sometimes in form it's hard to love everyone, but I invite you to do it anyways. I know because I learned the hard way. And I've realized that when I let my dad off the hook, when I let a friend off the hook, when I let even, Christian, my husband, off the hook every now and then, I am free. I get to experience my happiness and my joy and my freedom. I'm so grateful. So I invite you to close your eyes as we close in prayer this morning. Love is one. Let's take a deep breath here as we just let these words that have just been given to us, of which you have called to yourself right now in this consciousness. And we choose to see in Christ's vision. We choose to let go of the belief in diversity and differences and separation and duality, and choose to understand that there are no differences in love, and that in truth we are all the same. We remember we are in the mind of God right here, right now, and have never left the mind of God. And every time we choose to believe in fear, separation, we are believing we're separate from God. We are wholly loving, we are wholly lovable, we are unlimited, we are fearless, we are joyful, we are happy, we are love, one love, in God, in the mind of God. May it be God's will, always and forever and throughout all eternity. All together, amen. Thank you very much.